Observe the disgruntled Thomas. Here he stands, a tired, solitary figure, in an airport parking lot at 3:30 in the morning, wondering why, what possible madness constantly possesses him to choose 5 and 6 o'clock outbound flights. Maybe it's the momentary bliss of a calm, nearly deserted airport, or the chance to reach his destination early enough to reward himself with a nice long nap. Either way, this is how most of Thomas's trips begin. And this year's Nebula Conference was no different. 2018, the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America held the Nebula Awards Conference for its second year in Pittsburgh, the bustling city located at the confluence of 3 major rivers and known for its steel and, to me at any rate, excellent local beers. The con itself was once again at the Marriott City Center, located next to the Paints Arena, but because I booked a little late, I ended up having to stay in the Overflow Hotel, the Doubletree, which I totally didn't mind, as it's literally just a 5-minute walk away and has a 7-Eleven right by its main door. After setting up my hotel room workstation, a little remote SFF180 substation I like to call it, because I can be a pretentious tit, I made an effort to explore a little more of the nearby downtown area than I did last year, wandering around the Duquesne campus, which, as you might recall, is adjacent to the tiniest and cutest Barnes & Noble I've ever been to, and most importantly, making sure my 2 favorite restaurants from last year were still buzzing. This pizza joint, right behind the Marriott for one, which gives you a garlic sauce I haven't been able to find back home, and, of course, good old China Wok, one of those great little walk-in and order-at-the-counter kinds of places I especially love. I may never visit you again, but it was good to return for one final lunch. But it's possible I got a little careless with my exploring, because it was right about here that I encountered my mortal enemy, this uneven spot in the pavement. And the entire foot went like this. It's not swollen, there was no horrible cracking sound, but it's pretty tender, so this kind of sucks. We'll see. Yeah, my entire Thursday night was a write-off. My foot in so much pain I was having to hop to the bathroom. Not a good start to the trip. Still, with the help of plenty of ice and rest and some super comfy brand new shoes, by Friday morning everything felt much better. And I gingerly made my way over to the Marriott to start the conference. As most of you probably know, SFWA is a professional organization for writers, editors, agents, and other people tangentially involved in the world of SFF publishing. Now, as a reviewer, I am an affiliate member. The annual Nebula Conference, while it can be attended by the general public, is generally a professional gathering and not so much a fan-oriented one, where writers can mingle with their peers, new and aspiring writers can get hooked up with mentors, and panels focus mostly on the storytelling craft, as well as the little fastidious details of managing a writing career, like what are your legal rights, and how do you stay in the good graces of the IRS? There are those lovely personal moments, though, and for me, I very much enjoyed the chat between Patrick Rothfuss and this year's Grandmaster Peter S. Beagle, author of the classic The Last Unicorn, as well as other great novels like Tamsin and A Fine and Private Place. I first met Peter Beagle at a Dallas convention back in like '05, and I recall sitting on a panel with him and all of us just listening to his stories about working on Ralph Bakshi's animated Lord of the Rings movie and what a complete mess of a production it was. He is as sweet and gentle a person as he is a storyteller, and he's had, shall we say, some rough experiences, both personally and professionally, that no one should have to endure. His talk was full of charming reminiscences and, well, some moments that just drop-kicked you right in the emotions. But It was good to see him up and about at age 79 and still writing. There were several excellent writing panels on such topics as how to decolonize your fiction, how to write optimistic, hopeful stories in hopeless times, and how to make your writing groups more inclusive, so on and so forth. And it was good to see SFF180 getting its streaming game on point this year, meaning that all of this year's panels were live streamed and are now archived on the SFF180 YouTube channel, so I could see all the ones I missed. Apart from programming, I was happy to wander aimlessly, socialize where the opportunity arose, and of course I could not miss the beer tasting.
The theme this year, all of the breweries that we were dealing with this year, and we've got, I think, 7 different breweries plus 1 cider works. They're all from one neighborhood in Pittsburgh, which is the Lawrenceville neighborhood, which years ago used to be sort of a steelworkers neighborhood, and the only beer that you could ever get there that was made there was Iron City beer. Iron City beer is no longer made there, but now there are a bunch of craft breweries there. What?
There was a movie made there called The Blood-Sucking Freaks.
Back in the day.
Is that right? And right after they made that movie...
Was that on the walking tour this morning? No.
And right after they made that movie, they tore the whole neighborhood down. Seriously.
The main event, the Nebula Awards themselves, well, they were preceded the night before on Friday with the formal presentation of the fiction category nominees, who this year received their certificates and bonus presidential hugs, while excerpts from their nominated stories were read by veteran audiobook readers James Patrick Cronin and Mary Robinette Kowal. And then Saturday night, everybody got as dressed up as people tend to get in the SFF community for the Nebula Awards banquet, hosted this year by Martin Robinson, a legendary puppeteer some of you may know from your childhoods watching Mr. Snuffleupagus. The banquet itself was a bit better than most hotel banquets tend to be, if I have to be perfectly honest. Usually what you're paying for is the event, and then whatever dinner is served is treated by the kitchens as something of an afterthought. The food was okay, but the company was best. I enjoyed getting to visit with last year's illustrious Andre Norton Award winner, David D. Levine, and Martin Robinson's hosting was both funny and touching, and of course it did include a lot of terrific puppeteering moments with occasional help from Mary Robinette Kowal. I mean, seriously, is there anything she doesn't do? Personally, I really respected filmmaker Jordan Peele's acceptance speech for the Bradbury. He emailed it in and somebody read it. And Peter S. Beagle's Grand Master acceptance speech had practically the whole room choked up. The only disappointment was that my table was placed far to one side of the stage, so not really a good eyeline. That's why I didn't record too many of the speeches, but no worries, you can watch the whole thing on the SFF180 channel. But I did manage to pull Mary Robinette aside for a brief red carpet interview.
Sure. Okay, so tell me about this fabulous dress.
So this fabulous dress is silk velvet. I got it about 20 years ago, and it is carefully secured with a thanks Ursula pin. The necklace is by Sarah Glassman, who is a science fiction and fantasy writer. And if you look very carefully, this is my favorite part of it, these are tiny little skulls.
Oh.
Well, there was no chance of encountering anything else nearly that awesome for the rest of the evening, so it was down to the Marriott bar for after-party drinks and socializing, most of which one does without videoing, I'm sure you understand. In all, it was another richly satisfying award ceremony. The Stone Sky won Best Novel, after all. And farewell to Pittsburgh. Hello next year to Woodland Hills, California. I'm looking forward to that, but before then, it's Worldcon and BookNet Fest, and maybe I'll see some of you at one of those before too long. Until then, safe travels and happy reading.